Have you ever spent countless hours memorizing vocabulary lists only to freeze completely when someone actually speaks to you in that language? Why is it that after years of language classes, so many of us still can't hold a simple conversation with a native speaker? Has this ever happened to you? The problem isn't your ability or talent, it's the method. What if I told you that one of history's greatest scientists discovered a learning technique so powerful it could transform how you absorb languages forever? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely revolutionize your language learning journey. Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, wasn't just brilliant at quantum mechanics. He developed a learning method so effective it can make any language feel as natural as your mother tongue. The traditional approach to language learning has failed millions of students worldwide because it's built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how our brains actually acquire language. The core issue lies in how we're taught from day one. Memorize vocabulary lists, grammar rules, conjugation tables. We stuff our brains with disconnected pieces of information, creating the illusion of progress. But when the moment comes to actually speak, everything evaporates like morning fog. You're left scrambling for words, struggling with grammar, and feeling utterly defeated. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What Feynman understood was revolutionary. True language acquisition isn't about stockpiling information. It's about understanding connections and immediate application. When you learn a new word or phrase, your brain needs to experience it in context immediately. Not tomorrow, not after you've memorized the entire textbook. Right now, today, this minute. And this leads us to the most counterintuitive but powerful aspect of language fluency. You must speak from day one. Yes, even when you barely know 10 words. Most language learners wait for some magical moment when they'll feel ready to start speaking. That moment never comes. Every time you force yourself to verbalize a new phrase, your brain forges neural pathways that's silent. Reading could never create. Talk to yourself in the shower. Narrate your cooking in your target language. Have conversations with an imaginary friend while driving. This might feel ridiculous at first, but what you're doing is transforming passive knowledge into active language skills. Your mouth is literally teaching your brain how to organize language for spontaneous use. The remarkable thing is that each time you speak, even imperfectly, you're not just practicing, you're physically rewiring your brain's language centers. Native-like fluency isn't about perfection, it's about neural adaptation through consistent verbal practice. And as we'll see in the next segment, this approach completely transforms how quickly you'll progress from basic phrases to expressing complex thoughts in your target language. If you're serious about mastering languages faster using these proven methods, hit subscribe now. I'm constantly sharing techniques that challenge everything you thought you knew about language acquisition. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and reveal something that might completely transform how you view language mastery. The hidden truth that native speakers know intuitively but language courses never teach you is this. True fluency isn't measured by how many complex grammatical structures you can recite, but by how effectively you can communicate meaningful ideas. Think about the most impactful conversations you've had in your native language. Were they filled with elaborate vocabulary and perfect grammar, or were they powerful because of clarity and emotional connection? This revelation changes everything about how we approach language learning. The journey to genuine fluency begins when you embrace simplicity as your path through complexity. Native speakers rarely use the most sophisticated forms of their language in daily life. Instead, They communicate with precision using straightforward expressions. Your mindset should shift from, "How can I sound advanced?" to, "How can I express this idea most clearly?" This is exactly what made Feynman's approach so revolutionary in every field he touched. When he couldn't explain quantum physics to a freshman student, he didn't blame the student. He recognized a gap in his own understanding. Similarly, if you can't express a concept in simple terms in your target language, you haven't fully internalized it yet. Behind the scenes of every seemingly gifted language learner is this simple practice. They ruthlessly simplify until only essential meaning remains. This doesn't mean speaking like a child. It means achieving the elegant simplicity that comes from deep understanding. When you can explain complex ideas using basic vocabulary, you've achieved something far more impressive than memorizing obscure words. But here's where most language learners make a critical decision that limits their progress. They remain passive consumers rather than active creators of language. Merely listening to podcasts or reading books creates weak neural connections that quickly fade. The breakthrough happens when you shift to active explanation as your primary training ground. Think about how children learn their native language. They don't silently absorb. They constantly attempt to express their thoughts, make mistakes, receive feedback, and improve. This active process forces their brains to organize language patterns cohesively, creating strong neural pathways. Try this. Take a concept you're learning and explain it out loud in your target language, even with limited vocabulary. You'll immediately notice where your knowledge gaps are, the moments where you stumble or can't find the right expression. Those aren't failures, they're precious guideposts showing exactly what you need to learn next. Each time you successfully explain something, even imperfectly, that language becomes permanently integrated into your mental framework. It transforms from vocabulary I studied to language I own. The impact of this practice compounds over time, creating a foundation for genuine fluency that feels natural rather than rehearsed. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to explain, not just memorize," if you're committed to trying this approach in your language learning journey. Let's talk about one of the most crucial mindset shifts that transformed my own language journey. Most people believe they need to carve out large chunks of time for serious study, an hour here, 2 hours there, to make real progress. But this approach often leads to burnout, inconsistency, and ultimately giving up. The revelation that changed everything for me was discovering the extraordinary power of micro-habits. Language acquisition doesn't require those intimidating marathon study sessions. In fact, your brain actually prefers the opposite, consistent micro-practices distributed throughout your day. This insight completely revolutionizes how you approach learning. While waiting for your coffee to brew, describe the kitchen in your target language. During your commute, explain your day's plans aloud. While walking your dog, name everything you see. These seemingly insignificant moments, what I call stolen time, become precious language training opportunities that compound over time. The science behind this approach is fascinating. 10 3-minute sessions scattered throughout your day create more lasting neural pathways than a single 30-minute study session. This is because your brain processes language in these short bursts much more efficiently, without the fatigue that sets in during longer sessions. This distributed practice not only prevents overwhelm, but makes language learning sustainable long-term. It integrates seamlessly into your existing life rather than demanding major sacrifices. The secret to mastery in any field isn't dramatic transformation, but consistent, modest actions that accumulate into something extraordinary. Behind the scenes of every fluent speaker is this invisible infrastructure of daily micro-habits. They're not studying more than you. They're studying differently, leveraging these brief windows of opportunity that most people waste scrolling through social media or zoning out. Now, There's another critical decision that separates mediocre language learners from those who achieve native-like fluency. The average learner follows a pattern of repetition, dutifully repeating phrases from textbooks or language apps like a parrot. But exceptional learners understand the power of recreation. Instead of merely repeating standard phrases, they transform them using personal experiences and contexts. They create examples, metaphors, and expressions that resonate with their own lives. When you reshape language to fit your unique reality, it ceases to be foreign and becomes genuinely yours in a way that memorization never achieves. Join our community of language learners by subscribing to this channel. I share research-backed strategies that transform how you approach fluency, just like the Feynman method we explored today. This personalization process mirrors exactly how children naturally acquire their mother tongue, not through formal study, but through continuous creative adaptation. A child doesn't mechanically repeat phrases. They constantly experiment with language to express their needs, observations, and imagination. By adopting this creative mindset, you build authentic fluency that feels natural because it's deeply connected to your life experiences. Each time you transform a textbook phrase into something personally meaningful, you're not just learning language, you're claiming it as your own, making it impossible to forget. Think about it. Which would you remember better? A generic textbook sentence about ordering food, or a humorous story about the time you accidentally ordered the wrong dish on your vacation? The meaningful, personal connection makes all the difference. Drop a comment saying, "I'm stealing moments for language learning," if you're going to try implementing these micro habits in your daily routine. You know, as I'm wrapping up, I realize that we've covered a profound shift in how language learning actually works. This isn't just another set of tips. It's a completely different paradigm that mirrors how our brains naturally acquire language. And that's exactly what I aim to bring you on this channel. Not just surface-level advice, but transformative insights that change how you approach learning forever. If you found value in this perspective and want more content that challenges conventional wisdom about language acquisition, hit that subscribe button. I'm constantly researching and testing these methods myself, and I'd love to share those discoveries with you as part of our ongoing conversation. If this approach resonated with you, if you're ready to stop memorizing and start truly acquiring language, drop a comment saying Feynman would be proud, so I know you're embracing this method. Your experiences and questions help shape future videos and create a community of language learners who understand that fluency comes from understanding, not memorization. That like button does more than you might think. It signals to YouTube that this content is worth sharing with others who are struggling with the same language learning challenges you've faced. Every like helps another frustrated language learner discover that there's a better way. Right over here is a video about how to create your own immersion environment at home, even if you don't live in a country where your target language is spoken. It pairs perfectly with Feynman's method and will give you practical ways to implement these principles immediately. Click through, and I'll meet you there to continue this journey toward authentic, natural fluency.